with the front pretty much done, I sort of move to the rear and see what I have to do. I don't have the suspension that the car is going to be running on, but the customer set me on the dimensions of the shocks, their full length and the minimum length, and it looks like we're going to have about 50 mil. The wheel's going to be able to travel 50 mil higher than the current tub on the rear, the arch. So the blue line is the top of the tubs inside the car at the minute. That's the standard tubs. So I thought maybe I'd just be able to come straight out from the top of the tubs. The wheel's going to get much wider, so it'll hit this arch. I thought we'd just be able to trim the top of this and sleeve it out, and that'll be a handy enough job. But it looks like we're going to have to go up 50 mil. So up to this red line, like that's massive. Like, it's going to have to be big arches fitted over afterwards. For a minute, I'm just going to cut it all out and then box it all in on the inside. This car already has a roll cage in it, so but lucky enough I don't have to come out as far as the roll cage. Sort of see that bump there, I'm going from there 50 mil up, so just raising that inner bit up. The wheel isn't actually out this far, it's just in there. Well, it's actually going to be more out further than the car because it's gone slightly wider track, so it gives me a little bit more room from the shock and the spring. This side looks a little bit more straightforward. I don't have the petrol filler. Still probably going to be tricky enough. So where this rise is here, I'm going to leave this and sort of come straight up from that and then out. So leave all this here. I actually think there's going to be coilovers in the back of this now, so I actually think I need to make this bigger to fit the spring. That's all double skinned there as well. I have the outer arch cut off, but I still have the sort of inner skin on the inside of the car still there. So what I'm doing is I'm just pushing the steel in, the sheet into it. I'm going to mark it, cut all that out and slide it in all the way. So this is sticking out, whatever, like 200 mil at the minute. So I want to slide it in another 100 mil anyway, and then sheet from this straight up, but the inner skin is still in the way. I have this just sitting in here. It's just pushed up against that sheet that I already put in there, the straight one, just to get it all lined up. So just going to tack it in a few places, get it pushed up into where it needs to be, tack it. Then I'll take the inside sheet back out again and trim that to the right sort of shape. I'll cut this out to shape. And the other side tacked in now as well. There was a bit of cutting out where the fuel filler cap originally came in. I had to cut that out. It was actually a bit rusty. It was the only bit of rust I found in the car, was that little bit there. So I cut that out. I'm going to have to blank off the fuel filler cap on the outside and box that off a little bit there. Have the left hand side finished, and I just sprayed a bit of paint on it just to stop it from rusting. But you can see it's all spot welded all along here. And that's a full weld along the top of the ridge there, so the ground back probably needs another bit of cleaning up, and spot weld to the inner skin of the car. Still have to finish trimming off the outer skin, like that was just pushed in as far as it would go and then welded up, so I have to cut all that back to probably a couple of mil off the welds, maybe flush with the welds. This bit of a hole here is where the filler neck used to go down, and then it went underneath and into the fuel tank. So I'm just going to cap that off there like that. In the rear coilover is going to come up here, and it just barely touches off here. It's probably okay, but we won't really know until the car is down and running with big wheels on it. Is the coilover going to actually bind on this part of the inner arch? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a section out and put this weld a section back in here, like a concave section. So that's it all clear and seeing. It's only in probably 25 mil, 20 mil, 25 mil, but it's enough to clear the coilovers. The next job I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the spare wheel well out. This car is a Hillclimb car and it's going to be quite low. It's going to have a diffuser as well eventually. So the wheel well is going to be in the way eventually. So we said while we're doing all this fabricating, we might as well get rid of that. So I'll cut that out and put a flat sheet over top of it just to give it a bit more space underneath. So the spare wheel well all tacked in and covered in. So if them all welded in as well, this is all welded in. So the only thing left to do now is the seat brackets. I have to change the seat brackets for the new FIA type. My last job is to replace these seat rails. These don't comply with the FIA drawings of what seat rails you need in the car. So I'm going to have to cut them out and I have to use these bigger bars. These are 35 mil, yeah, 35 mil. I think these are only 20 mil. Also these bits that slide back and forward, can't use them either. They have to be, these bars have to be drilled and the bolt has to go down through the centre of the bar. I have this back bar welded in at the minute and the front one's just tacked in. Not 100% sure if the front one's in the right place yet. And these can bolt in and out. Unlike them ones that are welded in the whole time, these can bolt in and out, but undoing these bolts and taking the whole bar out. I think what I'll do next is I'll mount these side brackets onto the seat, drop the seat in, and I'll get the rear one all drilled and welded up and finished. And then I can gauge exactly where the front one needs to be. There's no sliders in this at all, so it has to be exactly the right distance forward and left and right and everything. So there's a bit of messing around to try and get them right. You can just undo the bolts from here and they pop out. There's a fair bit of weight in these compared to the other ones, but they're a good job.